I pulled into my own driveway and saw my mother and my 13-year-old daughter standing there in white clothes, soaked head to toe in muddy water, crying. And the woman I loved was holding the bucket. If it were you, what would you have done? My name is Lewis Johnson. People toss the word billionaire at me like it's body armor, but money doesn't stop your chest from caving in. It doesn't whisper the right words into your ear when everything goes sideways. 5 years before that day, cancer took my wife Latoya. We were high school sweethearts, turned business partners, turned exhausted parents who still danced in the kitchen on Tuesdays. When she died, time got weird. I measured my life in school drop-offs, board meetings, and the sound of my daughter's footsteps in a house that suddenly felt too big. My mom, Miriam, moved in to help. My sister Brenda started showing up more, and between the three of us and a calendar that never slept, we kept going. I wasn't looking for love. I wasn't even looking people in the eye. Then a stomach bug hit my daughter Selma, and I ended up at a neighborhood pharmacy, the kind with a bell that still rings when you open the door. Behind the counter stood a pharmacist named Genevieve, calm voice, steady hands, eyes that didn't judge. She talked to Selma at eye level, explained the meds like she was teaching, not lecturing, and she looked at me and said, "You're doing a good job, Dad," like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Maybe that's when the ice cracked. I found reasons to go back: allergy pills, vitamins. I didn't need a question about side effects. I could have Googled. We got to talking. She was saving to open a community pharmacy that felt like a clinic, not a cash register. She volunteered on weekends. She sent care packages to seniors who lived alone. She didn't care that my name shows up in magazines. She cared that my kid felt safe. That's rare. You know what I mean? 8 months later, I proposed early morning at the rose garden. She loved dew on the petals, a promise in my throat. She said yes. I swear the birds got louder, and Selma hugged us both so hard I thought my ribs would crack. That night we ate too much cake and planned a life that sounded simple on paper. But families are never paper. They're wet concrete. Every footprint stays. From the start, my mother was polite but chilly, all smiles with the heater turned off. "She seems nice," Mom would say, which in our family can mean anything from genuine praise to a red flag. Brenda was more direct. "You've been alone for 5 years. Lewis, don't you think it's convenient she checks every box?" The word convenient stuck to the roof of my mouth like peanut butter. I told myself they were just protective, that they'd come around once they saw what I saw. I wanted that to be true more than I wanted the truth. Genevieve moved in after the engagement, and the house got warmer. She cooked on Sundays, left post-it notes that said things like, "Drink water, you maniac," helped Selma with her essays, asked real questions about Latoya without flinching. Then Selma got sick for real, not the kind of sick that a cartoon bandage fixes fever and nausea, and those hollow eyes kids get when their bodies are fighting hard. Genevieve took time off to sit by the bed, measure meds, make the kind of soup that smells like a hug, talk quietly about nothing, so Selma wouldn't be alone with the pain. That's when my mother announced she was staying until the crisis passed, and Brenda rolled in with a suitcase 2 days later. The air changed. The kitchen became a command center I didn't control. Helpful hands everywhere. Helpful voices everywhere. Helpful schedules taped to the fridge that didn't have Genevieve's handwriting on them. Every time she offered to help, there was a gentle, "We've got it." Every time she suggested a small change, there was "not necessary." Cut by cut by cut, same spot, you don't notice you're bleeding until the floor's sticky. One afternoon, when the fever finally eased, Genevieve suggested 15 minutes in the yard, just to feel the sun again. "She needs rest," my mother said, voice hard enough to chip tile. "I know what my granddaughter needs." Genevieve kept her voice soft. "I'm not trying to replace you. I love her too." Brenda stepped in like a referee who already picked a team. "You've known her less than a year." I should have stepped between them. I should have been the wall I wasn't. That silence, it still echoes. So I did what men with too much money and not enough courage do. I planned a grand gesture instead of a hard conversation. Genevieve's birthday was coming. I lined up the kind of surprise people post online and strangers applaud. New Mercedes with a red bow, vacation tickets to a turquoise ocean tucked in my jacket. Dinner at the one restaurant I can never get. And most of all, a speech where I'd say, "We set boundaries tonight. I choose us, no more triangulation." I called Brenda, asked her to take Genevieve out for 2 hours so I could set it all up. She hesitated a beat, then said, "Of course, Louis." That beat should have been a siren. I turned through my gates that afternoon, rehearsing apologies and promises, heart running ahead of me. Then I saw them. My mother, my daughter, and Brenda, in white drenched and shivering muddy water, running down the driveway, and Genevieve standing there with an empty bucket. My brain threw a breaker. I slammed the brakes, left the door open, and yelled without thinking. "What is going on here?" The bucket clattered. Genevieve reached for me like someone falling. "Louis." "I can explain. It isn't what it looks like." Selma's teeth were chattering. "Whoa. I'm cold." My mother looked small and furious. Brenda's glare could have melted ice. It was a perfect picture, no context, all pain. I made a call that will haunt me until I'm gone. I told Genevieve to pack her things. I told her to get out. She took off our ring, put it on the coffee table with shaking fingers, and said, "One day you'll learn the truth." I didn't let her finish. Yeah, that happened. The house got quiet in the wrong way. Work became anesthesia, 19-hour days, flights I didn't need to take, meetings that felt like bandages on a broken leg. My mother said things like, "See how peaceful it is now," and Brenda started introducing me to women she said would be better fits, as if a person is a blazer you try on for fall. Every time Selma tried to talk to me, something cut in. Phone, calendar, urgent knock on the office door, a well-timed plate of cookies. One night she wandered in at midnight, eyes red. "I need to tell you something important," and right on cue. My mother appeared in the doorway with warm milk and a bedtime prescription, like she had a sixth sense for truth. Maybe she did. A business partner mentioned he'd seen Genevieve speak at a medical conference, said she opened the pharmacy she'd dreamed of, offers free consults, sliding scale meds, partnered with a clinic so uninsured neighbors stopped skipping their prescriptions. It messed with my story. Villains don't build places like that, not usually. Then I dreamed of Latoya, not the soft kind of dream that makes you cry. Happy tears, one of those clear ones, where the person you love says something you can't pretend you didn't hear. "Louis," she said, voice quiet like the moment before a storm, "our daughter is trying to talk to you and you're not listening." I woke up at 2:17 a.m., heart pounding, and walked straight down the hall. Selma opened her door in pajamas, hair everywhere, face serious. We sat on the bed and I locked the door with my hand still shaking. "No interruptions," I said, and I meant it. "Baby girl, tell me what happened that day." She studied me like she was choosing whether to leap. "If I tell you, will you believe me even if it hurts?" That question knocked the wind out of me. "Yes," I said. "I should have before. I will now. Here's the twist. And if you need to pause and breathe, I get it." Selma told me she saw Brenda pour dirt into a bucket of clean water by the garden shed, while Genevieve had her back turned. She said Brenda came into the house and told her and Grandma to put on white because she wanted to take pretty pictures in the garden, then walked them out to a very specific spot, called to Genevieve, and said, "Go ahead and toss that water, we don't want mosquitoes." The splash was immediate. The humiliation was instant. And the moment Genevieve tried to explain, that's when my car rounded the curve. Silence. I tasted metal. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, even though I already knew. Selma's voice went small. I tried, Dad. I tried every time, but they kept showing up. They kept saying it would make you sad. They kept saying, let it go. If it were you, what would you have done? I walked downstairs and said just one sentence, I know what you did. The living room got cold. My mother said I was being dramatic, that children misunderstand. Brenda said it was for my own good, that Genevieve would have ruined everything. I reminded them Genevieve refused my money, paid her own way, kept receipts for groceries. She insisted on buying saved for her business, like a person who knows the price of things and the value of them. It wasn't protection, it was control. Control dressed up like care. Do you think that's fair to weaponize the word family and call it love? I told them to pack. Not in a week, not after church. That night, tears, accusations, apologies that pivoted back to blame. They left close to midnight, and the house finally exhaled for the first time in months. I didn't sleep. At 9 a.m., I was standing on the sidewalk outside Genevieve's pharmacy, watching her show an elderly man how to take his heart pills. The gentleness, the patience, the precise kindness of someone who knows their work matters. I went to the library and read every article about her I could find. Sliding scale, free screenings, a partnership with a community clinic. She had chosen the hard path and built something that helped people stand up straighter. Meanwhile, I had built a story that made it easier to sit down. I bought white roses, the ones she liked, and a necklace with a small pendant that said truth. Then I walked in. The bell chimed. She looked up. Surprise flickered into hurt, then resolve. "Louis," she said, "why are you here?" My voice felt too big for my throat. "To tell you I was wrong, that I know what happened, that I'm sorry, and sorry is too small." She listened the way she always had, no rush to fill the silence. "Why did it take you months?" she asked. I told her the only thing worth saying. Because I was a coward, because I trusted history over character, because I forgot my child's voice outranks everyone. We set terms like grown-ups who want to make it. Counseling both together and separate. Boundaries written down, not implied. Daily time for Selma, where nothing interrupts, not phones, not calendars, not urgent cookies. And I promised I would never again end a conversation before it starts, just because the picture looks bad. She asked about Selma. I said our daughter missed her, that she'd been carrying a truth so heavy it bent her shoulders, and she still tried to protect me. Genevieve nodded, swallowed hard, and said, "Then let's try slowly. Stick around because what happened next will blow your mind." Dinner the next night tasted like truce meatloaf and green beans and mashed potatoes, the most American peace offering. "You can put on a plate." Selma hugged Genevieve and whispered, "I tried," and Genevieve said, "You did everything right." We talked about simple things because simple things are how trust relearns your name. We kept the appointments, sat on couches in rooms that smelled like peppermint tea, practiced saying what we meant before the voice in our heads rewrote it for comfort. I changed my work calendar for real, not symbolically. Phones off at dinner. 10 minutes of undivided attention that kept stretching into an hour because love expands when you stop stepping on its neck. A month later, I got down on one knee in our living room. No audience, no strings of lights spelling anything. Just Selma on the couch with her hands over her mouth, and all the words I should have said the first time. "I thought I was offering you a family," I told Genevieve. "Now I know you were already part of it. I'm asking to make public what's already true." She said yes, and we laughed like people who earned it. We got married in this backyard under a sky that didn't care about last names, and Selma gave the toast. Family isn't who claims you when it's convenient, she said. It's who stays when it's hard. People cried, I did too. I'm not too proud to say that. Life didn't turn into a montage. It turned into mornings with real conversation, evenings that didn't feel like triage, a home where a kid can tell you what she saw without someone intercepting the ball at the 1-yard line. 2 years later, my mother had a heart attack. We went to the hospital together because boundaries and forgiveness aren't enemies, they're teammates. She apologized with a voice that sounded smaller than I remember said. Fear turned her into someone she didn't recognize. Brenda said less, but she listened. We set the rules again. No triangulation. No staged scenes. No showing up to fix what isn't broken. One violation, we step back. Love plus respect or nothing. So here's what I want to leave with you, because stories aren't just for entertainment. They're for inventory. Listen to your kids. When they say, I saw something, you put the phone down, you sit on the bed, you lock the door if you have to, and you make space big enough for the truth to stretch. If the truth messes with your comfort, that's the point. Comfort tells pretty lies. Truth pays rent. And ask yourself this, because it keeps me honest. When family demands loyalty while denying respect, is that love or leverage? When help arrives with strings, is that generosity or a leash? When a person shows you they're willing to humiliate a child to win a power struggle, are you looking at protection or control dressed up for church? If it were you, what would you have done on that driveway, bucket and all? If you were Genevieve, would you open the door again for a man who failed you once, even after he did the work to make it right? Where is the line for forgiveness, and who gets to draw it? Drop your take in the comments. Tell me where I blew it, where I finally got it right. How this story hits your house, your job, your own mother or sister or partner. If you've carried a truth and couldn't find the room to say it, tell us what it felt like. And if someone you love staged a scene to keep control, say it out loud, because secrets rot foundations. Like, subscribe if this helped you breathe a little easier. Share it with the one person who needs the nudge today. Your turn.